My wife joined a feminist social circle and started calling me a controlling a-hole and asking for an open relationship, while she was the one mistreating our kids. So I filed for divorce and accidentally ruined her life. I used to love feminists, until I met my wife. For a while we were perfect, but then she met a fresh social circle. These women weren't just opinionated, nothing could satisfy them. Hold a door for them? You think all women are children and can't do anything for themselves? Don't hold it? You're disrespectful and entitled. Walk behind them? You're a creep. Walk ahead? You're an egotistical a-hole. But I thought I could trust my wife to not follow the herd, but she did, and ended up ruining more than just her life and our marriage in the process. And it all started with a simple few arguments here and there. I'd leave my plates in the sink after a 14-hour shift, and suddenly, I was the reason for every abuser that wasn't convicted. Or if I started helping with our kids' homework, she'd pull me aside and tell me I'm inherently problematic. And my mansplaining just proves it. The warm, loving woman I married seemed to be vanishing before my eyes, replaced by someone cold and antagonistic. About then, an awful gut feeling washed over me, because I was playing video games with my son and went to high-five him, but then my stomach turned, because he flinched. I immediately noticed and talked to my wife about it, and she told me I had a fragile male ego. Her reasoning was that our son wasn't actually flinching. I was just lying to myself to make myself feel stronger and more powerful than her, because I was insecure. So yeah, pretty confusing, and not at all reassuring. So from then on, I made sure to pay extra close attention to our daughter and son. Every day I watched as they slowly became less and less like their energetic selves, and more timid. My son even started wetting the bed at night. Well, I cared endlessly more about our kids' well-being than the state of my marriage, until one day, I came home early to a parked car in our driveway. My heart broke, but instead of confronting her, I drove off to a diner and came back a few hours later. I proceeded to ask her who she was bringing home when I was at work all day. My friends? Am I not allowed to have a life outside of this miserable house? My heart dropped. It suddenly became very clear that she didn't give an F about our family, and she was not the woman I thought she was. And as our children turned from more timid to actively fearful, I decided to take away one of her fundamental human rights. That right was her right to privacy. But when I checked her phone, most of the messages were deleted, and what remained was alarming. It was a conversation with one of her new friends discussing how Kayla should approach asking me for an open relationship. The friend advised her to ease into it and make him think it's his idea too. Obviously, she was cheating, but I didn't even care about that anymore. I just needed to know who was laying hands on our kids. So in my head, this is what I'm thinking. I needed to formulate a plan that allowed me to get full custody of the kids. But since there was no prenup, I had to make sure I was left with enough that would still allow me to be a good father. So when Kayla casually brought up the idea of open relationships over breakfast, like it was just a random thought that had occurred to her, I was prepared. I had my phone recording in my pocket. She stirred her oatmeal nonchalantly. So I was reading about these couples who have open relationships. What do you think about that concept? I didn't yell. I didn't scream. Instead, I looked her straight in the eyes and asked with a clenched jaw, "Who is he?" Her cocky demeanor vanished instantly, like a mask sliding off. "What do you mean?" she stammered. But I wasn't falling for her innocence anymore. And eventually, Kayla confessed to 2 one-night stands while I was working. She explained that when they came over, she forced our kids to sleep on the hardwood floor while she made love with them in the other room, loud enough for them to hear. Hence their timidness and increased anxiety. They were both married men with children of their own, fathers who, like me, probably thought they had loving, committed relationships with her. Then came the bombshell. She was planning to sleep with a colleague at work and intended to pursue it because it's good for her, and I don't have any right to control her. The way she said it, with defiance rather than remorse, made it clear this wasn't a confession. It was a declaration of independence from our marriage vows. The absurdity escalated when she mentioned setting me up with one of her friends who was really keen on me. "She thinks you're hot," Kayla said, as though offering me some kind of consolation prize. I've seen this friend, perpetually angry, loud, and physically unpleasant. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. My head was spinning, but I maintained enough composure to ask for her phone. With surprising compliance, she showed me her unlock pattern. While she used the bathroom, I locked myself in my office. She pounded on the door while I ran recovery software, uncovering painful evidence of explicit conversations, plans for meetups, and disparaging comments about me and our marriage. I also installed a monitoring app before returning her phone and telling her to leave. Her response wasn't remorse, it was indignation. She yelled about me being controlling, holding her back, like men always held women back throughout history. She claimed I never truly loved her, that I only wanted to possess her, that she had every right to do this, and expected me to just accept it as the new normal for our marriage. Through her tirade, I silently packed her things and stood at the front door until she ran out of steam and left for her parents' house. As she walked down the stairs, I said, "You're single now. Do whatever you want. I'm not controlling you anymore. My lawyer will be in touch in January." Before she could reply, I slammed and locked the door, my hands shaking uncontrollably as the finality of what had just happened washed over me. Through the monitoring app, I watched Kayla discuss everything with her friends in a group chat. They praised her for being strong and demanding what she deserved. They assured her my divorce threat was empty. Want to bet that men always make threats they don't follow through on, and that I'd come crawling back once I realized what I was losing. What terrified me was hearing them suggest she could accuse me of domestic abuse if needed to secure her future. One friend brazenly bragged about how she screwed her ex-husband and took everything with false abuse claims. She detailed exactly how to make the allegations seem credible, what to say, how to act, even suggesting Kayla could inflict minor injuries on herself as proof. I immediately ordered security cameras for my house. I knew I needed to record everything from this point forward. Then came something I never expected. Kayla messaged her affair partner to meet at a hotel. The message included the hotel name and room number. I quickly found the AP's wife online, connected with her on Facebook, and told her everything, including their current location. She thanked me and hung up abruptly. Hours later, she sent me a video from the hotel confrontation. "You fucking asshole! You do this to me again? To the kids again? I told you we were over if you ever did this again." She filmed my wife getting dressed on the bed. I vomited when I first saw that footage, the visual confirmation of my wife's betrayal hitting harder than any verbal confession. The AP's wife slapped Kayla and berated her for helping destroy yet another family. I messaged Kayla saying I'd seen the video and never wanted her near me again. My entire body felt cold, as though I'd been plunged into ice water. The woman in that video was unrecognizable to me, not just physically in that compromising situation, but fundamentally as a person. The way Kayla behaved afterward was bizarre, like she viewed our interactions as some competition she was winning. She texted friends that I was falling apart and would be begging her to come home within a week. She seemed completely disconnected from reality, not grasping that we were actually divorcing. There was no remorse, no acknowledgement of the pain she'd caused, just strategic planning for how to come out ahead in the divorce. I joined her family's WhatsApp group and informed them we were divorcing due to her infidelity, thanking them for welcoming me into their family before leaving the group. I received several calls and messages from her relatives but didn't respond. I couldn't bear to relive the details over and over, each retelling reopening the wound. After telling my parents everything, my father messaged Kayla that she wouldn't be welcome for Christmas. I'm staying with my parents now, surrounded by childhood mementos that provide small comfort amid the chaos. My boss has given me time off until mid-January, recognizing that I'm in no state to function professionally. Through monitoring, I've witnessed Kayla's increasingly frantic discussions with her friends. I don't think she comprehends that she's lost her family, her marriage is over, and her new friends don't actually care about her. They offer toxic advice that only serves to drive her further from reconciliation. She sent countless messages and even showed up at my parents' demanding to celebrate Christmas with us. My father threatened to call police if she didn't leave, his face flushed with anger at her audacity. I've been Googling divorce lawyers between crying spells. Initially, I think I was in shock, functioning on autopilot while making necessary arrangements, but the pain hit full force once I reached my parents' house. Nothing makes sense anymore. How could someone change so drastically? Was our entire marriage a lie? Was there something I could have done differently? I've only responded twice to her messages. 1. It doesn't matter what you say. I don't know who you are. You're not my wife. My wife would never destroy my heart and soul while smiling. We will get divorced. I don't care what you say or what you want. You have no right to demand anything from me ever again. We are over. 2. Like I said, you're not my wife. I don't know you. My wife would never condemn our children to growing up in a broken home. You, whoever you are, seem proud of what you've done. My wife was loving, caring, considerate, my best friend. You are a self-obsessed, self-absorbed abomination. The messages stopped after that. Perhaps reality was finally setting in. The pain is unbearable sometimes. I find myself staring at family photos, tracing the outline of Kayla's face, wondering if that person ever truly existed, or if she was always capable of this betrayal. I wish none of this had happened. I wish we could go back to before, but I can't do that to myself. This is the worst Christmas ever. In a moment of weakness, I told the kids that mommy doesn't want to be a family anymore, that she wants to be with other men, and we're getting divorced. They're devastated. Briar cried herself to sleep in my arms, while Milo went silent, his small face frozen in confusion. Thank goodness my parents are here to support us all while I'm an absolute mess, barely able to function through the grief. I'm trying to pull myself together for my children, but I'll never go back to Kayla. The level of disrespect and callousness in her behavior is unforgivable. I'm completely lost. Why does she expect to demand anything from me at this point? Is she mentally ill? Has she always been this person beneath the surface? Or did something fundamentally change her? These questions haunt me as I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom. Sorry for the rambling post. I just needed to get this out somewhere people might understand. Update. So much has happened since my last post. I wish I could say I've been strong through this, but honestly, I've been a sobbing wreck. My father found me on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m. 2 nights ago, hugging my knees and rocking back and forth. I was obsessing over Kayla's chats with her friends until I saw something that broke me completely. She described, in cruel detail, how our marriage, and especially our children, were burdens, preventing her from being a successful woman living up to her full potential. She claimed I was an oppressive piece of shit, holding her back from a good life, and that motherhood was a patriarchal trap, designed to keep women submissive. What broke me was realizing she never gave specific examples of how we supposedly burdened or oppressed her, just blanket accusations based on gender politics, rather than our actual relationship. In reality, I've never stopped her from doing anything. I pay for everything. Her part-time job's minimal wage couldn't support anyone. I've backed her hobbies, dreams, and aspirations, even through countless classes she'd drop halfway through. I showed love and appreciation daily, romanced her, took her out, supported her whenever needed. I've been the primary caregiver for our children on many occasions when she wanted me time. If that's oppression, sign me up. I eventually passed out from emotional exhaustion. When I woke, my 3 best friends, let's call them JR, Jack, and Caleb, were in the kitchen with my dad making dinner. These guys have been there since childhood, through every major life event. JR is ex-military who lost his arm below the elbow in Afghanistan. We supported him when his wife abandoned him during recovery, unable to handle the new him. He arranged a Zoom call with his counselor who helped me understand what was happening emotionally. He explained how part of my identity was tied to my marriage and role as a husband. That part is now dead, and like an amputee experiences phantom pain, I'm feeling phantom pain from the dead part of my identity. As JR said, the marriage you thought you had no longer exists, and you're mourning it like a death, because it is one. Jack is an executive at a security company, well off, but mysterious about his actual job. He contacted a top-tier law firm his company has on retainer. He's covering my legal expenses as repayment for all the times I took beatings from bullies on his behalf when we were kids. You protected me when I couldn't protect myself, he said, squeezing my shoulder. Now it's my turn. Caleb, a teacher at a private school with 7 children, yes, 7, has been ensuring my kids are cared for while I get back on my feet. His oldest daughters have been reading bedtime stories to Briar and Milo, providing a sense of normalcy amid the chaos. Yesterday started with an STD screening. The results? Kayla gave me chlamydia. I need another screen in 6 months for HIV and other STDs with longer incubation periods. My self-pity instantly transformed into rage. The doctor's sympathetic look as he prescribed antibiotics only intensified my feelings of violation. Gloves off. I'm going for full custody and will give her nothing if possible. My lawyer tracked down the ex-husband of Kayla's feminist friend who bragged about screwing him over. We spoke on WhatsApp, and after hearing how this woman destroyed his life, leaving him homeless and barely seeing his kids for 4 years, I'm preparing for war. His voice cracked as he described living in his car while she enjoyed the house he'd paid for, telling their children he didn't love them enough to provide a home. My attorney suggested a preemptive restraining order due to Kayla's negative comments about males, especially for our son's sake. Growing up with an openly anti-male parent is obviously damaging, so we're pursuing full custody. We're compiling evidence of her abandonment of the children, her unstable behavior, and her newly developed extreme views that could harm their psychological development. I had a Zoom call with Kayla yesterday. She hasn't reached out to me or the kids since appearing at my parents' door. She looked more dolled up than I'd seen in years, with excessive makeup and a plunging neckline that seemed bizarre for what should have been a serious conversation about our marriage dissolution. Throughout the call, she tried provoking me into anger. I stayed cool as my lawyer advised, even telling Kayla I was recording the conversation for my records. She started with some absurd statement about different types of penises and how she was looking forward to investigating more in person after restrictions lifted. Her eyes darted off camera occasionally, suggesting she wasn't alone. I simply replied that I wasn't interested in her hobbies, only in discussing our divorce and arrangements for the children. She became hostile when I wouldn't take the bait, calling me boring and pathetic. At one point she went to the bathroom, but merely muted herself while conferring with her friends about what to do next. I watched as she repeatedly cursed me out just for being a man, calling me all manner of slurs while her friends encouraged her aggression. When no progress was made after 45 minutes of this behavior, I concluded, okay fine, a contested divorce it is then. By the way, you gave me chlamydia, and unlike you, I haven't been sleeping with anyone else, so you better get yourself to the clinic. She just frowned like she didn't believe me, then claimed I must have given it to her, a ridiculous accusation since I've been faithful throughout our marriage. I sent the recording to my lawyer, who was shocked. This is gold for our case, he said. Since I own her phone and the subscription, we can legally use the chat logs in court. Her digital footprint will be her undoing. It still hurts, but I'm treating it as phantom pain now. I've abandoned self-pity, and am fighting to protect myself and my children. We'll get through this. My kids will get whatever therapy they need. Kayla will soon be a distant memory, and I'll build a better life. Update. 2 weeks later. People keep telling me I'm strong or winning somehow. Reading back my posts, I can see how my anger might make me seem defiant and sure of myself. The truth is, I'm not. I wish none of this had happened. I wish my family was intact, and I had a long, comfortable life ahead with Kayla as our kids grew up. Nobody wins here. I lose, Kayla loses, our kids lose most of all. Their world has been shattered through no fault of their own. It feels like people are congratulating me for losing both legs, but saving half a kneecap. I still can't sleep properly, and when I do, I have terrible nightmares that leave me drenched in cold sweat. I dream of Kayla with other men, laughing at me. I dream of my children crying for their mother while I stand helpless. Sometimes I wake up reaching across the bed for her, momentarily forgetting everything before reality crashes back. Today, the hospital called. I'm still Kayla's emergency contact, and she's still on my health insurance. There was an altercation. She lost teeth, broke her jaw, and needs observation for a few days. The nurse's clinical description couldn't mask the severity of the injuries. When I arrived with her parents, we learned some of her new friends had beaten her severely. Word got out that my lawyer had chat logs of the woman bragging about her ex-husband, the ones from Kayla's phone. They assumed Kayla had provided these logs, resulting in the beating and her being kicked out of their circle. The irony wasn't lost on me. The very people who had encouraged her betrayal had turned on her with shocking violence. Amazingly, she still doesn't realize I'm monitoring her phone. I'll continue paying for her insurance and phone until the divorce is finalized. I just won't believe it's over until I'm holding the papers. There's a part of me that still wants to protect her, despite everything. 11 years of love doesn't disappear overnight, even when betrayal shatters the relationship. Kayla has nothing now. She asked if she could move back home, her voice muffled through her wired jaw. I simply told her, no way in hell. Her mother won't give her a penny unless she gets clean and stays clean for at least a year. They offered to let her live with them under strict conditions. No phone, no visitors, mandatory counseling. For the first time, I saw a glimmer of regret when she said, I'm sorry I ruined everything, but I don't think it's genuine. She barely looked me in the eyes, focusing instead on the hospital wall behind me. Despite everything, it hurt seeing her like this. I wanted to protect her, but she's an adult whose behavior is dangerous and erratic. I need to protect my kids. Strangely, she didn't ask about the hearing or her critically injured friend. She just sat there, seemingly irritated by our presence rather than grateful for the support. Her father's face was a mask of disappointment and confusion, the same expression I've worn for weeks now. I still don't understand what happened. She destroyed her family and caused immense pain for, what? A buzz and random sex? I'm going completely no contact until she's been clean for a long time. I can't handle this craziness. Update. 1 month later. Many people have messaged asking for updates. I was going to post yesterday but lacked the energy. I'm depressed and exhausted, barely sleeping, and plagued by nightmares when I do. Some days I can barely get out of bed, forcing myself to function only because my children need me. The good news, my kids are doing better. My dad has been incredible. We went skiing at his cabin this weekend, just him, me, and the kids. It was wonderful watching them learn, their faces flushed with excitement as they mastered the bunny slope. For brief moments, I could almost forget everything that's happened. I have no contact with Kayla now. I did speak with one of her friends, the one who was in critical condition. She woke up, but is in terrible shape. Her nurse mentioned that no one had visited her. Her family refused to see her. The ward was eerily quiet, just beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic. Worried that whoever attacked Kayla might come after me and the kids, I asked to speak with this woman. She bizarrely opened our conversation by offering sexual services for $20. Her eyes were vacant, her skin pallid and marked with bruises. I countered with $50 for information instead. What she revealed was devastating. All these feminist friends are hardcore drug addicts. One of them, the one who bragged about destroying her ex, brought Kayla into their group against the others' wishes and introduced her to drugs. They sell sexual favors for drug money, hiding behind feminist rhetoric to protect their imagined egos. Kayla bought into the ideology first, but quickly became addicted to meth. Eventually, she too began selling sex for drug money. Learning that the woman I loved more than anything had become a prostitute to fund her addiction destroyed me. It explains why she only wanted money from our divorce. Each revelation felt like another knife to my already wounded heart. No one visited this woman in hospital because she's stolen from, cheated, abused, and lied to everyone in her life. She told me, without blinking, how sad she was to have survived. She has no hope for the future. I cried listening to her story, not for her, but for what happened to Kayla, for the horrific decisions that led her down this path of self-destruction. I'm not excusing Kayla's choices. She decided to play with fire and lost everything, but understanding her addiction explains much of her bizarre behavior, the personality changes, the irrational anger, the complete disregard for those who loved her. Many Redditors with experience with addicts warned me Kayla might attempt suicide as her life collapsed. They were right. She tried to overdose deliberately. I discussed this possibility with her father, and we decided to monitor her closely. While at the cabin Saturday, I received what read like a suicide note. She confessed to her addiction and prostitution, said she'd let everyone down, and suggested she was taking the only option left. The words were rambling, disjointed, but the intent was clear. I immediately called her father and shared her location from the monitoring app. He found her unconscious on a park bench and rushed her to the hospital. She was hypothermic and barely alive. If he'd arrived even slightly later, I can't bear to think about it. Despite everything, I didn't want her to die. The mother of my children, the woman I once built a life with, I wanted her to heal, even if we could never be together again. They've put her on methadone, and her father has been appointed her legal guardian after proving she abandoned her children, which apparently demonstrates mental incompetence more clearly than a suicide attempt. She'll undergo sedated detox at a rehabilitation center this week. The doctors warn the road to recovery will be long and difficult, with no guarantees. Thankfully, I hadn't canceled her life insurance yet, so treatment is covered. I've offered to help with finances as long as Kayla isn't told I'm involved. Not out of kindness necessarily, but because her recovery is vital for our children to eventually have some relationship with their mother, a healthier, sober version of her. I was terrified the men who attacked Kayla would come after me and the kids, thinking I had provided the incriminating chat logs. Jack's friend Brandon, who benefited from those logs in his divorce case, decided to fix this. Brandon is an intimidating mountain of a man who grew up on a farm lifting hay bales and wrestling cattle. Despite his frightening appearance, tall enough to duck through doorways, crew cut, facial scars from a childhood accident, he's actually patient and kind. He visited the attacker's apartment, grabbed them by their necks, and gave them two options: go to the police and confess to the assault, or face him and suffer painful permanent injuries. They couldn't get to the police station fast enough. I found a new apartment and will be moving soon. Jack helped arrange it. It's smaller than our family home, but it has enough space for the kids and is in a good school district. I've been slowly decorating their rooms, trying to create a space that feels safe and welcoming. Despite everything, I'm profoundly depressed. What keeps me going is my friends, family, and the need to stay strong for my kids. My heart breaks for Kayla. Despite everything, I don't regret marrying her. I still love who she was, but I know we can never reconcile. She isn't the person she used to be, and there's too much pain between us. We had a good life before this disaster. I wouldn't have my children without her, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. The pain will linger, but I hope I'm strong enough to endure it. Some days I doubt myself, but other days I see glimmers of a possible future, different than what I'd planned, but perhaps still worthwhile. Strangely, learning about Kayla's addiction has helped my kids cope. It's easier to explain that mommy is sick, and it's going to take a long time for her to get well, than to explain betrayal and abandonment. They've written her letters that I'm keeping safe until she's stable enough to read them. Their resilience amazes me. Children can adapt to so much if given the proper support and honest, age-appropriate explanations. I'm sad and exhausted, but Brandon is here with his kids now. We're watching Madagascar 3 tonight. I'm trying to make as many good memories as possible amid the darkness. Our children seem to be doing better. They laugh more freely now, and the nightmares have become less frequent. I think we'll be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. Thank you, everyone, for your help and support. The kindness of strangers has been a lifeline during the darkest moments. Final update. Kayla passed away. She overdosed while in rehab. Nobody knows how she got the drugs. One doctor speculated she might have swallowed a hidden bag that burst during detox, releasing a fatal dose into her system all at once. I held our children as they sobbed, their small bodies shaking with grief I couldn't soothe. How do you explain to children that their mother is never coming back, that the illness took her forever? I have no answers, only tears that won't stop flowing. I won't be posting anymore or answering comments. Thank you to everyone who provided helpful suggestions and support during this nightmare.